Hello, my friends. Welcome to my basement. I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of my thoughts on Ghost Recon Wildlands. I hope everybody's having a great day. I actually have my Paris mug from Starbucks, which was totally a coincidence because it's weird. I traveled to Paris to check out Ghost Recon Wildlands, and I've been around this game quite a bit over the last few months because of that trip. And then there was also a subsequent trip where I got to go down and get some good hands-on time with it. And then over this weekend, I played a little bit of the beta. So I wanted to just give you my impressions on what I've seen of Ghost Recon Wildlands so far. And I have to be honest, I've played probably 7 hours of this thing, and I've only seen like two sort of areas of the map. The map is enormous. It is the biggest open world map that Ubisoft has ever created, with lots and lots of incredible details that vary from snowy mountains to jungle, and there's going to be like rough water and desert and tons and tons of stuff. You just go out on a bike ride on this thing and you see so much variation in the topography, the plant life, the animals cruising around. Of course, there's tons of civilians. It's amazing. You'll get into firefights in this game with drug cartel people, because that's what you're basically doing in this sucker, is you're trying to take down this nefarious drug ring that has taken over the country of Bolivia. And they've also done some heinous stuff to a buddy of yours within the sort of CIA framework. And it's a bit of a revenge thing, but it's also, look, we got to take these guys down. They're too powerful. And the way that they do it in the game is they break it down by district or state or area within Bolivia, which is run by some form of kingpin who will get you eventually to the top leaders and then the super big bad at the end of all of this stuff. I can't remember everybody's name, every character's name. That'll come later when I actually sit down and get into the story. I've only had little bits of narrative thrown at me, and what I've seen so far I've really enjoyed. I think it's well crafted. I think there's some great voice work in this thing. One of the things that I recognized early on was that the chatter that's going on back and forth by the different AI characters that you have in there when you're playing solo. I guess if you're playing multiplayer, you'll hear that chatter too. But you're going to hear, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of poking fun at each other, which is it takes the edge off and it adds a lot of character to the gameplay, which is great. And it reminded me a little bit of the excellent Battlefield Bad Company games that DICE made a few years ago. Not quite that caliber and not that much chatter, but a nice tip of the hat in that direction. This is definitely going to be a different feel for Ghost Recon purists out there, and some of the videos that I've posted on the channel already have gotten comments about how they're not happy with Ubisoft's new direction with this, because it feels very much like almost a little Far Cry, a little Division in some ways. Definitely I get some SOCOM vibes on this. But that third-person open world dynamic is kind of new to Ghost Recon. But they have, retained a lot of the sort of tactical stuff that you need to have a successful Ghost Recon enterprise. You've got the gunsmith option, which allows you to, create and customize your weapons to your heart's content. There's tons of them in there, and then you can modify and customize like crazy. You can customize your characters like crazy. You get cool tech like drones, which allow you to, target each of the individual bad guys that you might encounter in a camp or something. You can even auto target some of these bad guys and sync shot with some of your either your AI controlled cooperative allies on your Ghost Recon team, or this game was really engineered to play with up to 4 other people, and it's super drop in, drop out, but it feels a little more amorphous, a little bit more sort of make it up as you go. And it certainly is a game that I think Ubisoft has a bit of a challenge with, because you can compare it so quickly to not only their own great open world experiences, and certainly this almost feels like a weird amalgam of The Division and Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs 2 more specifically, but in the jungles, or in sort of more rural areas. And then you can certainly paint this as something that looks a little bit and feels a little bit like a Far Cry game. But you also, because of this third-person, aesthetic and perspective, you're immediately sort of connecting the dots and comparing it to Grand Theft Auto and recently Mafia 3, it feels a little bit like it's in crowded waters, and that might be the biggest challenge for Ghost Recon Wildlands. But I can tell you something, the Paris Ubisoft team that we visited with have been killing themselves on this thing. You can see it in their faces. They feel like they've created a really fun sandbox playground type of experience, and they've worked their asses off to build a massive world for us to explore. And I think the devil is in the details with this game. I think that's the beauty and the hook of it is not, of course you've got this crowded map with a ton of different objectives and story missions and side missions. A lot of those side missions sort of just erupt out of gameplay. You'll see a convoy just trucking along a dirt road, and the game will ask you if you want to go and take them down. And then you bring those resources back to rebels who will help you fight not only the cartel, but this sort of corrupt military force that exists within this world as well. And sometimes the military and the drug cartel and the gangs will start fighting with each other, and sometimes the rebels, and it gets into this interesting stew of combat, and in the middle of it are all of these hapless civilians which you are absolutely pinged for and reprimanded for killing any of them. And you feel for them too, because a lot of them are living in abject poverty, and a lot of the world that's been crafted for us doesn't really pull a lot of punches. You'll see corpses and bodies of people that have been hanged or mutilated or burned or whatever. There's lots of underground installations to kind of go into. Another game that this reminded me of a little bit was Metal Gear Solid 5, and its freedom of, which I think also was very heavily influenced by Far Cry 3, just the idea of storming these installations from any vantage point and kind of making up a tactical sort of on-the-fly plan with your allies to take out an opposing force which always outnumbers you in a very smart way and usually in a stealthy way. But of course, all hell breaks loose when they discover you and everybody starts coming at you and reinforcements are called. So fun, super addictive, right? So yeah, you've got the map covered with these camps that you want to go and take out, and you can take them out whenever you want. You've got all kinds of resources spread out all over the map, and that's the way that not only do you empower the rebels that are in the game, but you also allow yourself the ability to use your skill points and upgrade different things. So you've got the drone that can be outfitted with new batteries and better sight options. You've got a parachute that you can unlock. You've got, steady your aim. You've got more powerful armaments and stuff like that you can attach to your weaponry. So you need those resources. You need to help the rebels. There's protect convoys. There's take out enemy convoys. There's rescue prisoners. There's, obviously take out the mini bosses and take out the bigger bosses. In my 7 hours, it was like, no, I don't want to give up the controller. I don't want to put this down. I don't want to stop playing. And even after I played the beta, I've been thinking about it like crazy. One of the things that has driven me nuts so far about playing Ghost Recon Wildlands is that the experience has been really tapered around not leaving areas within a map. And that was true with the hands-on that I got down in San Francisco, and also now with the beta. The minute you left the map section that you've been granted to play, a timer would set in and it would say, it's going to be game over. You're going to be killed if you keep going in that direction, which sucks. And that's definitely not a part of the full game. And it's one of these things where you can look out over this vast arena and you realize you can go in every direction. Now, I don't know how this game is going to do. It's a crowded February and March. There's a lot of stuff coming up. Mass Effect is coming up. We've got, of course, the Switch launch and Zelda. I guess this game kind of stands apart as an open world tactical shooter. But I do think that Ubisoft has to overcome a little bit of the bad buzz sales-wise that came out of Watch Dogs 2, and also this sort of perception that exists out there of this is not the Ghost Recon that I grew up with. But, you got to applaud companies that do change it up and do take huge risks, and this is a massive investment on Ubisoft's part. They clearly know how to do these incredible open world games with lots of little hooks and lots of things to keep you coming back. I think this is going to be an incredibly fun experience with a few other friends out there, storming all of these areas and getting into all of these different boss fights and driving the tons of different vehicles or flying the vehicles that you can in this thing. Ridiculously cool, you know? I think one of the challenges that they have, though, is that they've been good with this type of gameplay, even if they haven't allowed the sort of the breadth or the four-player co-opness of Ghost Recon Wildlands. They've offered similar kinds of experiences over the last few years that have been so good, you know, so good. Far Cry 3 and 4, even Far Cry Primal. I love The Division. I thought Watch Dogs 2 was great. Yeah, I really hope this one does well for Ubisoft. I think that they've you know, invested heavily in something cool. I don't have a review for you yet, though. I haven't played this for hours and hours. I haven't put like 20 hours into this thing. But I'll tell you what, I really am looking forward to doing that. And, you know, see for yourself, this game is absolutely stunning. On a meta level, you know, when you sort of get granular and you go super close in on some of the cutscenes and some of the sort of the in-game cutscenes and some of the character stuff, you can pick that stuff apart. But when you think about how large the world is and how much you see and the day-night cycles and the rain effects and the, you know, lightning storms that might happen and all the cool gadgets and toys and fun little bits that you get to play with in this game. I can't wait, but it's going to be a super crowded spring. But anyways, those are my early thoughts on Ghost Recon Wildlands. I think I've covered that game quite substantially thanks to you know, the trip to Ubisoft to go and check all of this stuff out. So the next thing you'll hear from me about Wildlands is my review. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back very soon with new reviews and a lot more gaming content. We'll see you soon. Take care. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.